sisters and brothers. Welcome again to Type Productions. I am your host, Talib Muhammad, and today we're going to examine whether or not the popular website known as Wikipedia is a reliable source to utilize in the study of any form of Black history in any era of any location in the world. Over the years, the site has been criticized for presenting African/African American history from a slanted perspective, as well as being deficient in utilizing source material outside of European/American academia. Questions have been raised concerning the frequency of biased entries on the site and the obvious lack of comprehensive research on various historical subjects, specifically Black history. So, sisters and brothers, our question for today is, can Wikipedia be trusted for research in regards to African and African American history? Let's explore that here today on Each One Teach Two. In today's world, the general practice to ascertain information is to immediately access the internet. Whenever we have a question, we simply go to Google, type in our inquiry, and like magic, there's our answer. Well, maybe. Now, the internet is indeed a very valuable tool, but it is only a tool. And more likely than not, one of the answers that the Google search engine will provide us with is from a website known as Wikipedia. This website is accessed millions of times a day, and in actuality, Wikipedia can be a useful website to use whenever we embark upon any form of research. It can provide us with names, dates, events, locations, and other forms of basic information. However, the selection process determining the viability of some of the material and the methodology utilized to qualify the information as being accurate can be highly questionable, especially in regards to African and African American history. Now, for us old schoolers, back in the day, the most profound compilation of general information was the encyclopedia. This was a large collection of books which often exceed 24 volumes, wherein a vast amount of subjects from A to Z were expounded upon. The contributors to the encyclopedia were generally educators and or scholars from each respective field of study who contribute their collaborations to the encyclopedia's construction and publication. This procedure is very different from the way that information is accumulated on the website Wikipedia. On Wikipedia, virtually anyone can contribute information and have it posted on a respective website. Now, in fairness, there is a staff of editors on Wikipedia who make hundreds of edits every single day in an attempt to confirm the accuracy of the contributions. And it is these individuals who determine whether or not the information is valid to be posted on the website. Now, this leads us to a question. Are these editors qualified to evaluate the information they are authenticating in regards to African and African American history? Well, apparently not. And why do I say that? According to its own website, Wikipedia has been, quote, criticized for having systemic racial bias in its coverage. This stems in part from an underrepresentation of people of color within its editor base, unquote. The website goes on to say, quote, article completeness and coverage is dependent upon the interests of Wikipedians and not necessarily the subject matter itself, unquote. Now imagine presenting data based upon the interests of those who view the site, not necessarily the facts, but instead the interests of the site visitors. Such a practice is more akin to a cable news broadcast than a source for empirical research. Such catering to the interests of those who visit the website could be classified as pandering. Why not simply present the facts as they are with no concern about the interests or bias of those who visit the website? This lack of balance in Wikipedia's depiction of African and African American history was echoed by the former president of Wikimedia DC, James Hare. He stated that, quote, a lot of Black history is left out of Wikipedia due to articles predominantly being written by white editors. Articles that do exist on African topics are, according to some, largely edited by editors from Europe and North America and thus reflect only their knowledge and consumption of media, which tend to perpetuate a negative image of Africa. Now, Mr. Hare was not alone in his position regarding Wikipedia's inequitable approach toward African and African American history. This is Catherine Maurer. She is the former executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation, which virtually owns Wikipedia. Ms. Maurer states that, quote, Wikipedia can only represent that which it was referenced in secondary sources, which historically have been favorable toward and focused on white men. Studies have shown that content on Wikipedia suffers from the bias of its editors, who are mainly technically inclined, English-speaking, white-collar men living in majority Christian developed countries in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, whereas these editors may have the very best of intentions in their efforts to ensure that the information found in Wikipedia is indeed accurate, the question is, are they qualified to make such an assessment? Do they have the education, the background, the experience, and perceptions to determine if what they are authenticating is indeed factual? This is Mayra Liriano, who is the Associate Chief Librarian of the Schomburg Center for Research and Black Culture, located in Harlem, New York City. In addressing the lack of information regarding Black history found on Wikipedia, she stated, quote, it's really important that people of color know that there is a gap of coverage in Black history found on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the go-to place for information, especially for young people who are born in the digital age. The existence of an entry on Wikipedia gives it weight. It's kind of like, oh, it's on Wikipedia. Then it is important. The omission of Black people and Black history makes it seem as if it's not important, unquote. Now, in fairness, all of the aforementioned quotes can indeed be found on the Wikipedia website. In spite of the predisposition in presenting primarily European/Caucasian perspectives in regards to African and African American history, the website doesn't seem to make an attempt to hide such unfairness. The problem is so few students of the subject matter question the accuracy of Wikipedia, assuming that it is a reliable, unbiased, legitimate source for information. Now, in spite of being, as Ms. Liriano states, the go-to place for information, it is this systemic bias created by the editing community's narrow social and cultural demographics that causes Wikipedia to fail at its objective of providing accurate and reliable information in regards to African and African American history. As a result of this systemic bias, Wikipedia underrepresents the academia, perspectives, research, and interpretations of facts from people in nations outside of North America and Europe. Equally lacking are potential contributions by those who do not have the means or resources to edit the entries on the website, such as a computer. But it goes even further. The website itself states, quote, Wikipedia tends to show a white Anglo-American perspective on issues due to the preponderance of English-speaking editors from Anglophone countries. Now, an Anglophone country is basically a country where English is spoken. It goes on to state that Wikipedia's systemic bias portrays the world from with the filter of the experience and views of the average Wikipedian. Now, of course, the question is, what qualifies a person to be an average Wikipedian? Well, the qualifications can be found right on the Wikipedia website. This is the criterion that the American version of Wikipedia requires for a person to be classified as an average Wikipedian and depicts who the website is catering to and accepting input from. Now, this is from the Wikipedia website itself. Requirement number 1, you must be white or Caucasian. You must be a male. Please note that women make up less than 15% of the editors on Wikipedia. You must be technically inclined, formally educated, an English speaker, which is also interesting considering the fact that 83% of the world's population does not speak English. You must be aged 15 to 49. 15? 15? The experiences and views of a 15-year-old child has weight on an encyclopedia? Moving right along, you must be from a Christian country. Another interesting requirement considering the fact that nearly 70% of the world's population is not Christian. You must be from a developed nation. Now, please allow me to pause here. This is a map of countries that Wikipedia identifies as developed nations. All are represented in blue, and as you can see, all are countries that are predominantly populated by Christian Caucasian people. No Africa, no South or Central America or the Caribbean, almost no Asia. Basically, Europe and North America. The next qualification is to be from the global north, which of course means the northern hemisphere or north of the equator. Apparently, Australia and New Zealand have been given a pass on this geographic prerequisite. Unless we view the map this way. Conversation for another time. And finally, likely employed as a white-collar worker or enrolled as a student rather than being employed as a blue-collar worker. Now, the filter through which the average Wikipedian views and contributes to the website is indisputable evidence of a lack of balance in the final determination as to what qualifies as unbiased and accurate information. Whereas the human factor of determining facts is always, you can always enter into the equation. It is the lack of non-Caucasian, non-Christian, non-male, non-European American perspectives and interpretations and scholarship that brings Wikipedia's credibility and accuracy into question in regards to African and African American history. Now, being truthful, Wikipedia has made attempts to address the issue of racial bias on its website. In 2015, the foundation made numerous grants to organizations in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East to address the bias. Yet, according to Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales, the Wikipedia Foundation has completely failed, unquote, to meet its goals of resolving the lack of diversity amongst Wikipedia editors. So, sisters and brothers, let us go back to the question proposed at the beginning of this video. Can Wikipedia be trusted for research in regards to African and African American history? Well, considering what we just reviewed, my personal opinion is no. The social, racial, economic, geographic bias and lack of diversity is just too systemic to accept the website as being incontestably accurate. That's it. I do not recommend not using Wikipedia for basic research. In spite of all the aforementioned realities, it can be a useful tool for basic information and study. However, I implore you to always check and double check any and all data the site or any other site presents as fact in regards to African and African American history. I have personally found countless misrepresentations concerning Black history on Wikipedia, and especially in regards to acknowledging and respecting Black scholars who do not adhere to the European/American interpretations of African/African American history. Perhaps we can address that subject in a future video. Now, a short note to my Caribbean sisters and brothers. When I use the term African American, I am not in any way disregarding your collective nationalities. I use the term as a blanket reference to all those whose ancestors came from the African continent and currently reside in any part of the Americas, whether it be North America, South, Central America, or the Caribbean. So let us not go down that divisive rabbit hole, and instead stay focused on our positive objectives. Sisters and brothers, I hope this presentation has provided you with an alternative perspective as to where we should look in our quest for knowledge. The internet is an incredible tool that can assist us in ascertaining a higher comprehension of any subject matter. However, there is still one almost ancient methodology that can be utilized to broaden one's scope and enhance our academic, philosophical, spiritual state of mind. This almost obsolete practice still exists today, and any of you can revitalize it and input it into your daily lives. That ancient practice is called reading. There is still no substitute for it. Back in the day, reading was the way that we used to upload information into our brains. So, buy a book on any subject that interests you, whether it be social issues, finance, history, politics, health, whatever. And please understand that there was a time in this country when it was illegal to teach a black person to read. Enslavers could beat, maim, rape, mutilate, break up families, abuse black children with no repercussions or consequences of their heinous acts ever being considered a crime. However, there was one thing that an enslaver could not do. He or she could not teach a black person to read. They knew that reading would open the minds of those black people and raise them to a height that was detrimental to the status quo of the enslavers. Reading is indeed fundamental. And please do not forget that a person who does not read has no advantage over a person who cannot read. Sisters and brothers, we at Tyke Productions would like to thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation. If you enjoyed the content, please give us a like and subscribe. We hope to see you again in the near future here on Each One Teach Two.
Professor Clark, do you think that we should always judge history in terms of race?
Look, there was no such thing as race in the psyche of the world until the Europeans put it into the psyche of the world.